We do have a quorum, so let's call the meeting to order.
Okay.
All right. So you all saw the email that I sent,
Yes.
and
Yep.
okay. So a couple of updates. The warrant committee just met, and the planning board met last night. The warrant committee acted on the what you had seen, which was to add those words in the charge number 3. I think you all saw that, right?
Yes.
So to make recommendations to the planning board. What the warrant committee's recommendation is going to be is not just to say to the planning board, but to insert here to the planning board and select board. So they just voted that as their recommendation. And then last night, planning board members, Meredith, the chair, had recommended to the rest of the committee last night the insertion of to the planning board. Other members had other concerns about not having been involved in the development of the content of this article. And so some were interested in whether it could be sent back for further study, which I didn't think could be done, but Nick's here so we can ask him. Or is it possible to amend the article to have the implementation committee, the current one, be extended for another year, which I didn't see possible either in the content of the article. So otherwise, there was no vote because they were looking for some clarity on those. So the way it was left was that the planning director, Liz Manning, would contact Nick about that. So Nick, I don't know if you have, let's see. Oh, Nick Tabor says his mic and speaker are blocked. He can just see us. We really need him to participate in this. Do you see anything there? Oh, he's connecting to audio again. Okay.
Yeah, I've tried to promote him as a panelist, and I've given him a permission to speak.
Okay, I'll ask him now if he can hear us at least. Because he can type in the chat maybe. He said he's in the car 5 minutes from the office. He could see, but mic and speaker blocked. I don't know. So let's see. I just
That's
asked
probably
him
on his end, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the way this is going to work in any case is what will be voted on as a starting point is going to be the recommendation of the warrant committee. So just to be clear about that. What do folks think about the revised recommendation of the warrant committee? So they're supporting the article as we submitted with that change that I mentioned when we started. And we can see whether we need to repeat for Tabor, but
I
may as well.
Cheryl, sorry, I'm also mid-commuting, but fully support what the warrant committee has recommended and agree and think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And Dick?
Well, I do agree. I'm just wondering what happens. So the warrant committee would recommend the article with these new changes if approved, but the planning board would be in disagreement?
There was no vote on it. There could be a vote, I guess, at the pre-town meeting on Monday, which is at 6:30. It's one member in particular said that even with this change that he would not support it. I tried to get some articulation as to what were the outside of process in terms of not being a part of the drafting of it, and the fact that it kind of came together close to when the warrant had to be, or when the article had to be submitted. I didn't get a strong sense of what would be done differently, what would be written differently in the article. There was some discussion about whether it should be a standing committee or not. I explained that the first two items are exactly the same as the charge today, because of the amendment last year that was made, number 2. And that number 3, because we had identified some areas that needed some other focus, like climate change and sustainability and diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's why number 3 was added. I think there's still, because the law that establishes adopting master plans puts the adoption with the planning board. I think there was still some concern about the planning board having more discussion about this recommendation before town meeting. That seemed to be the primary issue.
So the warrant committee was aware of the planning board discussion last evening, and they still went forward in recommending with a change this article, right?
Nick, were you at that warrant committee meeting? Do you know if that was because?
This morning, no. They were aware of the discussions. I had talked to the chair today.
Okay.
And relayed what some of the conversation was. He had been aware. I think he watched some of the planning board meeting last night. But the warrant committee, the only change they made officially is, the recommendation is now officially changed to include what Cheryl outlined earlier,
Which was reporting to the select board in addition to the planning board. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
I don't know. This thing's getting a little squirrely for me. I mean, to have the planning board opposing this article, if that's what they're going to do, would be almost in contradiction to the warrant committee. I mean, this is just another mess. I mean, this isn't what's supposed to happen, I don't think. I really don't know what to say on this.
So the other thing about it, Dick, is that the way it is now, the article is going to be voted on, right, Nick? I mean, the questions that I posed earlier, I think those are not in scope, correct? Is that your understanding too? Not possible.
No, I wouldn't say that. I can't comment on scope. That's up to the moderator.
Okay.
The warrant article's on the warrant, so the only way to pull it off is, at this point, I think, really just the town meeting has to dispense with the article one way or another.
Right. So it's not like it can be withdrawn or sent back for further study to us when the committee's disbanding, right? I mean, I suppose it could be sent to some other body for.
Yeah, the question of whether somebody can make an motion to amend to extend the term of the MPIC to May 2026, that would be the way to do it. Whether that would be within scope, I don't know. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I think it would be another question would be, well, does MPIC deliver its report now or not?
Right.
I think the intention would be for MPIC to deliver a report, at least. So yeah, it's a little clunky for sure.
But if we went for another year, wouldn't we delay submitting a report? Or could we delay submitting a report till the end of the official end of the MPIC, right?
You could, yep.
We are, in our charge, we're to deliver a report annually. This is deemed to be the final report, so it's more comprehensive. But so we could deliver it as a report. I mentioned to the planning board last night that the committee felt as if it had done its work and it has done its charge and making its recommendation. and that it was prepared to, to defend its recommendation. But, I also said that I needed to bring it back, and we had this meeting today. Tabor, is that you in the phone number?
Yes. that's me.
Okay. So did you hear the discussion before, Tabor?
No, I can't open any of this. I don't know, for whatever reason, my phone wouldn't allow me to open it on the road in the car.
Okay.
Now I tried to dial in. So I can't,
Okay.
I just last 90 seconds.
All right. So let me just do another recap. So there was a planning board meeting last night, and there was a warrant committee meeting a short time ago. I got an email from the chair of the warrant committee saying that they voted to change their recommendation. We have 3 items that are the charge of this new master plan committee. And the third one, as submitted, says to make recommendations regarding the scope and key focus areas of future master plans. And they voted to add the following, or for it to read the following: to make recommendations to the planning board and select board regarding the scope and key focus areas of future master plans.
Okay.
And then,
Cheryl?
yeah,
Sorry, do you mind if or go ahead, sorry, finish your thought.
sorry, I just had to respond to the messenger. So then, Elaine, you can jump in here. Then I was going to tell Tabor about the planning board meeting.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the planning board meeting, Meredith had made the suggestion that I had emailed. There wasn't support for that. There were other members felt as if the board should have been consulted about the recommendation before it being submitted as a warrant article. And
The planning board.
The planning board. So on that basis, they feel like they won't support it. And so there was a question about whether it could be sent back for further study, whether the current committee's duration could be extended to the May town meeting. And I think those were really the 2 ideas that were suggested. Nick, one sec, I have Regina here messaging me. She's going to join in now. We may have to do one more update. So the planning director, Liz Manning, was asked to reach out to Nick about those. And then Dick asked if the warrant committee was made aware of last night's meeting, and Nick said yes, that they were aware of last night's meeting and the discussion in the planning board. So their recommendation did not include sending it back, and it did not include extending the term. Their recommendation was to add the words that I said before. So basically, there's a meeting this afternoon with the moderator. So I guess some of these questions could be asked in terms of scope, whether this would be in scope if someone else made these motions that were suggested by the planning board. So what the vote would be, typically, if no further amendments are made, would be the recommendation of the warrant committee. And so normally the submitting body, whoever submitted the article, is asked their opinion about whether they would support that. It's not always possible, but we did have this meeting scheduled so that we could offer our opinion about that recommendation. And then, of course, the planning board, I said I would bring their thoughts to us since we had the meeting scheduled. So I see you, Regina, now. So I'm going to give another recap, and hopefully my recaps are consistent. The warrant committee met a short time ago. and the planning board met last night. The warrant committee was made aware of the discussion at the planning board last night, and they've revised their recommendation. So on the charge, number 3, we submitted to make recommendations regarding the scope and key focus areas of future master plans. The warrant committee's recommendation now, that will read, to make recommendations to the planning board and select board regarding the scope and key focus areas of future master plans. So that's going to be their recommendation at town meeting. Knowing that the planning board had a discussion last night and was not in support of moving forward with this article because they felt as if they should have been a part of the discussion in the development of the article. I couldn't really get a clear sense from them what they would do differently. Since I said much of this is what was before, what had been submitted, with the exception. So number 2 was added last year, and number 3 is the new scope item, going from 7 members to 9 members, adding a few more specialties, and making it a standing committee instead of one with a finite end date, were really the differences. And I didn't hear why those would not be good things. They were thinking that they may like to have the current committee's term extended to May as a possibility, so there could be some discussion about the article and a new article at the May town meeting, or whether it could be sent back for further study. But sent to whom would be the question, because the MPIC won't exist at the end of this month. So I think that the question about whether those are in scope for town meeting, it would have to be directed to the moderator. So I guess at the moment is, do we support the warrant committee's recommendations? And what do we think about if these are offered as amendments on Monday, what's the committee's thought about them?
Hey, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a hard stop at 1:29. But
Okay.
so I would appreciate if we could vote on that before then. But I just wanted to mention that, we discussed this at our last meeting, some of the concerns that were raised by the planning board, which it sounds like they still have. And while I don't personally share the concerns I'm aware of, at least from the planning board, I do remain confident in the work, very confident in the work that our committee has done, and in a process that I think was very collaborative that led to our final report and our recommendations. So I personally fully support the article and the changes that are suggested by the warrant committee.
All right. So would you like to make a motion, or do others want to have further discussion? I would like not to lose people. So if we have a discussion, maybe just a couple more minutes.
I guess my only concern, and Nick, you said that you spoke to Jay Funneling, I guess, about the meeting, the planning board meeting on last evening. I'm just hoping that information was passed on to the committee before they made this recommendation. I'd hate to be at the town meeting and find out that there was something lost in the translation on this, and then have a free-for-all between the planning board and the warrant committee, in terms of a vote like this.
Yes, we spoke. He understood that there was no concrete, discrete action by the planning board, and he had watched some of the meetings, so understood in terms of some of the concerns the planning board members expressed, and that they might have an alternative viewpoint come Monday night.
Okay.
So I just got word from him just before our meeting, Dick, so I didn't have an opportunity to reach out to Jay.
Okay.
I was hoping that Nick had, so that's where that stands.
So I'm in agreement with the warrant committee that adding planning board to select board is absolutely fine, because those two entities are who created and contributed members to this committee. So I'm fine with that amendment. I'm less fine with shaking everything out and saying, let's refer back to committee that's not going to exist.
Or extending the committee till May. Okay. Sorry, Elaine.
Yeah, it sounded like someone else was trying to speak.
Okay, I'm going to ask Tabor before we lose you, Elaine. Tabor?
I agree with those sentiments, and I would support the warrant committee and not the planning board's position on going back to May.
Okay, so then, will one of you make a motion, please?
I will make a motion to support the warrant committee's recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so I think Regina beat you, Tabor. So we'll do a roll call vote. Tabor?
Yes.
Elaine?
Yes.
Regina?
Yes.
Dick?
I'm going to vote no. I think we could push this off until May and solve some of the concerns of the planning board. But I don't want to see a food fight at the town meeting over this.
Okay, and I will vote yes. So we have our vote, and if there's some, we spent an hour and a half talking about this last night. So I want you to know that I really tried to understand if there was something substantial in what was recommended that would be done differently. And I just didn't get a sense. So I think it's more about process, which, I explained how the process came to be. But in any case, if there's a lot of discussion about this at town meeting, I won't be able to speak for anything differently than what we just voted. Okay. So if there's asking how our committee supports some other amendment, we won't have a meeting posted, so we won't be able to offer any recommendations.
Can we have a secondary recommendation voted on or no? I don't know how it works. Like if we were in agreement that if people were going to turn down this first offer, that we would go till May as a secondary option, could we vote on that or no?
Nick, what's your thought about that?
Yes, the committee could be prepared if it chooses to deliberate and agree and vote on kind of a perspective on that situation were it to arise.
Okay.
So can I make a motion that if the previous offer is not acceptable, that we agree to extend our committee's time period until May?
Is there a second or any further?
I'll second it.
Dick, any discussion? Elaine or Tabor?
I'm not in favor of it. I just think there's no reason we can't get this thing done now. We've got all of our work done. If they want to put it off till May, I don't see what we're going to accomplish between now and May. What would
Okay,
change?
Elaine?
I tend to agree, but I also, if that's the only alternative, then I think, I would be in favor, but.
So the question becomes, so if we have a priority, right? So Nick, I mean, if we're asked what we think about it, our priority is to accept the recommendation of the warrant committee, right? And if that, but how would this other vote?
Only as an alternative, right?
Okay.
Sorry, I have to hop, so I'm not going to be able to vote on this.
All right, we're going to take a vote now.
Okay. Oh,
All those in favor, Elaine,
yes.
Tabor,
No.
Regina,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So we have a 4-1 on that as well. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your making time for this today.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank-
And thanks for getting
Thank
it
you.
together for us, Nick. See you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a good
Okay,
weekend.
bye.
Yeah.